Señor presidente, honorables colegas, me voy a enfocar en la preservación del patrimonio cultural. Este es un tema que es particularmente importante para los países y para los pueblos de la región Asia-Pacífico. En un mundo globalizado, cada vez es más importante que busquemos la protección de nuestro patrimonio cultural y de la diversidad cultural de nuestros países.
Not only helps us to understand and remain connected to our history, it can help us to build society that are tolerant and inclusive. Indeed, Canadian Multiculturalism Act declares that to be the policy of Government of Canada to recognize and promote the understanding and multiculturalism is a fundamental characteristic of the Canadian heritage and identity, and that it provides an invaluable resources in the shaping of Canada's culture. This afternoon, I want to speak in particular about the approach that has been taken in Canada to the preservation of cultural heritage. Canada has a cultural heritage including built heritage, movable heritage, such as archaeological objects and religious and sacred objects and natural heritage. Parliamentarian has an important role to play with respect to the design legislation that protects cultural heritage and oversight the implementation of the legislation. To illustrate this point, I want to highlight Canada's federal legislation, which is an important component of our approach. For example, the Department of Canadian Heritage Act assigns to the Minister of Canadian Heritage the federal responsibility for cultural heritage, as well as the conservation, exploitation, and importation of cultural property. The jurisdiction over Canada's national museums, archives, and libraries. The Parks Canada Agency Act assigns to the Minister of Environment responsibility for national parks, national historic sites, heritage railway stations, and lighthouses. The Canadian Environmental Assessment Act 2012 requires that for projects such as construction of a mine, the environmental assessment address the effect on cultural heritage related to Aboriginal people, such as disturbance to rock arts. It also applies to projects impacting other heritage structure on site, such as disturbance to designated heritage lighthouses. Finally, there is the Cultural Property Export and Import Act, which has established export controls for objects, historical, scientific, and cultural significance. With respect to policy implementation, a number of Canadian federal organizations have a role, including the Department of Canadian Heritage, which is responsible for 8 national museums, National Gallery of Canada. It is also responsible for Library and Archive of Canada. The National Battlefield Commission and the National Film Board, all of which have a role in preserving Canada's cultural heritage. The Parks Canada Agency, which operates Canada's 44 national parks and administers 167 national historic sites. The Canada's Border Service Agency, which established export controls for objects of cultural significance. Canada has also signed various international conventions that deal with cultural heritage. One example is UNESCO Convention concerning the protection of world cultural and national heritage. Canada has also signed the Convention on Wetlands of International Importance, especially waterfowl habitats, and the UNESCO Convention on the means of prohibiting and preventing the illicit import, export, transfer of ownership of cultural property. Chair, in conclusion, I think the legislative and institutional examples I have cited today illustrated the importance of Canada's attached to its cultural heritage, and is the case with countries across our diverse region. That diversity and the history are precious. Canada therefore strongly believes that they must be safeguarded. In closing, I would like to invite all the delegates here today to the beautiful Vancouver, Canada for the 24th APPF 2016. See you. Thank you.
Muchas gracias.